Hey, coaches, what's going on? What's going on? Listen, I wanted to go ahead and change platforms really quickly because it looks like I was having some issues. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into today's power training. I had started originally, but I was freezing up. So come on in, make sure you come in, introduce yourself. Let me know what type of coach you are, whether or not you're aspiring, whether or not if you're growing. And so this is what I want you to do on this particular power training. Not only do I want you to come in, let me know if you're catching this on replay too, hashtag replay. But what I want to do is I want to know on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being crystal clear, right? With 5 being crystal clear, let me know how clear you are about your ideal client. Let me know how clear you are about your ideal client. I want to know how clear you right, are. With 5 being crystal clear. Let me know how clear. Sorry about that. I want to know how clear you are about your ideal client. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Sandra. I had to pop back in, and I changed platforms a little bit. So I'm looking at who's chiming in and who's in the comments, and then who's catching us live and all that good stuff. So listen, I want to know on a scale of 1 to 5, how crystal clear you are about your ideal client. That's for number 2. Make sure you come in, introduce yourself. Let me know what type of coach you are. Let me know if you're aspiring or if you're growing. Let's go ahead and talk through this because I want to know, of course, who's in the community. And I want to know where you are when it comes to identifying your ideal client. So keep in mind, we've been talking about the demographics. We talked about the geographics. We talked about the psychographics. On yesterday when we did our power training, we talked about knowing what problem you solved as a coach, right? And so I'm a part of another community and I'm doing a challenge. And one of the questions, and it's so amazing how when I launched the topic, I did, talking about the ideal client here in the community, I turn around and I join, another group of coaches to work through, or we're doing a challenge. And in part of the challenge, we're talking about the ideal client. So it was just so perfect. But one of the things that I had to sit down and identify is, why do I serve my ideal client? And so not only why do I serve my ideal client, but what results do I bring my ideal client? So this is why knowing your ideal client is super, super, super important, because you need to understand not only who this person is, but what results would you bring them, what problem do you solve for them, and why are you serving them? You have to, that whole why thing is in the core of your gut. And so it's not just about why you're a coach, but why is it that you want to serve the person that you say that you serve, right? Why is it that you want to offer your solutions to that particular person? So Sandra said that she's a forgiveness coach. Hey, forgiveness coach, stop saying aspiring, because you're a forgiveness coach. And on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being most clear, or crystal clear rather, she's a 4. That's really, really good. As a matter of fact, Sandra and I was just working through the ideal client. So I'm super excited to know that she has a lot more clarity in who her ideal client is. Dominique, she's an etiquette coach. Dominique just sent me some content about her ideal client too. I'm gonna check it out, Dominique. Don't worry. So again, she's an etiquette coach. We have our forgiveness coach. We have Crystal, said she's at a 2.5. Listen, Crystal, I totally get it. I was there. Dominique at a 3.5. That's pretty cool. I want to know where you are in your coaching business. How crystal clear are you with your ideal client? Are you a 5? Are you crystal clear? Are you a 1? You like, LaToya, I don't even know what an ideal client is. Or are you at a 3 or 4 and you like, you know what? I'm rocking through. I'm figuring this out. I'm trying to make this happen. So while we're sitting and we're identifying where we are with our ideal client, the one thing that you have to realize before you even sit down and go through the exercises of an ideal client, you need to know who you are, right? I tell the coaches all the time, listen, understand that there's a piece of you, there's a piece of you in your ideal client. And if you haven't checked some of those pain points, some of those struggles, some of those victories in your personal life, it's going to be really hard for you to connect with your ideal client, right? It's going to be really hard. Understanding your ideal client is going to require you to first sit down and understand you. You're going to have to pull back some layers. Now if you're a coach and you don't rock off authenticity, you're not a believer, you just trying to go up the chain and become popular or get more money, whatever your intent is, then this isn't for you. I'm talking about the coaches who authentically want to serve and support people and help solve a problem, right? So how do we do that? We do that by first identifying the areas in our personal lives, because understand that what you've been called from is what you're being called to. Know that the problems that God has allowed you to become victorious in are the exact problems that he's calling you to solve in someone else's life. That's the reason why he's allowed you to go through them. Keep in mind, your problems, your struggles, your issues are not about you. It's not about you. It's not about you. So stop getting mad like, oh my gosh, God is punishing me. He doesn't like me. Nope, cut that short. That's nothing but the enemy trying to whisper sweet nothings in your ear. I talk about it all the time. We know how men try to whisper sweet nothings in our ear. That's nothing but the enemy, right? So what God is doing is he allows you, because we know that he doesn't tempt us. He knows that he doesn't put evil things in our lives, but he allows us to go through these things. Why? So that we can come out victorious, so that we can come out stronger, so that we can come out sober minded, so that we can come out with strategy. So why? We can use the exact things that we've gone through and now support the people that we're called to serve. So the question of the hour is, yesterday you had to identify what problem you solved, right? How many of you called Maximize Your Monday and you sat down and you identified the problem that you solved? Now we're talking about the ideal client. If you're going to not only attract the ideal client, but close the ideal client, these are some very crystal clear elements that you're going to have to implement into your coaching business. I promise y'all, it wasn't until I became crystal clear on who I was called to serve when I was able to increase my income, right? Increase my income by a couple tens and twenties of percent, if that even made sense, right? But it wasn't until I sat down and said, okay, LaToya, who is it that you serve? LaToya serves Christian female startup coaches. Let me tell you this, even with that, I struggled, because for the longest time I serviced coaches and entrepreneurs. So when the Holy Spirit set me down and said, are you going to listen to me now? And he made me niche down to Christian female startup coaches. Now, here's the thing. When I niched down to startup coaches, that was really hard for me. Why? Because I felt like I could support everybody. I could support all coaches, but I'm not called to all coaches, right? I'm called to the Christian female startup coach. And so I had to really embody that. Why? Because I had to go through my own layers. I had to go through some healing. I had to go get over some pride. I had to get over some rejection, right? So in order for your ideal client to become crystal clear, there's some elements that we have to work through. So we talked about the problem that you're called to solve. Now we're talking about, why is it that you want to service this ideal client? Why is it that you're called to support them? Why is it that you want to help them through from where they are to where they desire to be? Why? Is it because it sounds good, because it feels good, because you think you'll get the most money, you think you'll get the most popularity, or is it because you know how that person feels to be in those shoes? When I first started coaching, I knew that God called me to coaching. I knew that this is what he wanted me to do, because I've always been good at doing this. I just didn't know how to monetize it. I didn't even know how to present it, package it, none of that stuff, right? I just thought that this was a gift that I was supposed to give to everybody, right? And so when I first started my coaching business, I struggled with getting my wheels turning and getting off to the ground and start flying. For the longest time, you know how you ever, paid attention to an airplane when it's trying to, if it's something malfunctioning in the airplane, it'll go, that skirting that's off the what is it called? The landing strip, right? That's how I felt. Like I just couldn't get off the ground. I couldn't get up in the air, right? And it was because I struggled with several things in my coaching business. I struggled with my messaging. I struggled with making my messaging clear, because I wanted to service everybody, because I knew that what I was good at. Again, mind you, post or pre-coaching, I helped everybody. So then when I started my business, I thought I was supposed to help everybody. But how many of us know that when you start helping everybody in the beginning, that's only an indicator that this is where you thrive. It doesn't mean that that's where you stay. Right? So when we first start coaching, we all want to service everybody. We want to help whoever wants it. Let's pass it out. We pass it out like buckets of water, whoever wants it. And then after a while, I start getting drained. I start getting frustrated, because the people that I was helping weren't implementing what I was sharing with them. just getting frustrated, not being able to gain consistency in my income. So mind you, the business Chase Great is 8 years old. However, I've been full-time for 6. So in those 6 years, in the beginning, when I launched full-time, I didn't create an income to sustain me. Like, I just jumped. Like, okay, Lord, you told me to jump, I jump, I'll build my parachute on the way down. Your girl was struggling. Okay. Your girl, your girl was struggling because I jumped, and I'm not at all regretful of my jump, because it brought me here, and I'm so grateful. It just makes me that much more grateful. So I'm not regretful of the jump. But baby, your girl was struggling when she jumped 6 years ago full time, right? Why? Because I had just had a baby. I had 3 of them. So I was on my third child. Me and my husband, I don't even know if me and my husband knew who I was outside of pregnancy. Like, there was so many different elements, but I jumped. And so why is it that I'm called to my ideal client? Because I know how it feels to feel like maybe I'm not supposed to be coaching. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Maybe I can't monetize and create 6 figures out of this. Maybe the people who are saying they make 6 figures out of their coaching business are lying. Like, I just don't see how they're doing that. And I don't get it. And I can't see it. I'm called to support that coach because I was her. I was the coach who had the fire, the passion, wanting to change the world, but couldn't figure out how. I was the coach who couldn't get a clear message. Do you know how long it took for me to understand the 4 elements that's required of a clear, converted message? When your message is when you're creating a magnetic message that converts your ideal client, do you know how long it took for me to understand those 4 elements? For a long time. I go back, Facebook to remind you of everything. So I go back to videos that I used to do. Oh my gosh, like the way I used to introduce myself, the way I used to tell people who I was just as confused as the people that was watching. That's the reason why it was so hard for me to gain consistency. And another thing that I noticed is I could only close a call or close a client on the phone after we've talked. Right? Why? Because I wasn't crystal clear in my messaging. So that took a lot of time. You know how much money I left on the table because I wasn't clear of my ideal client. So many people, I'll never forget this, y'all. So because I didn't know, I wasn't crystal clear of my ideal client. I remember getting on a call with a young lady, and she was asking me questions, and I was talking her through some stuff. She had signed up, she had did a discover call, right? And so at the end of the call, she was like, I said, okay, so are you ready to move forward? What date would you like to secure your coaching sessions? And she like, this wasn't just it. Gave this woman the whole coaching session for free 99 on a discover call. Why? Because I was trying to convince her, because I was trying to talk her through it, because I was trying to sell when that's really not how you close a client. Just so many different confused elements of what I was doing, and I crashed. Right? I crashed. And so at that moment, and this was probably about 5 years ago. At that moment, I realized I needed to do something different. Like, something has to shake, something has to change. I know that God called me a vision coach. He didn't call me a life coach. He didn't tell me, LaToya, you're a life coach, you're going to help people in their lives, you're going to do. No, he didn't say, LaToya, help people with their banking, with their weight, and with their relationships. No, he said, LaToya, you are a vision coach. I've called you to validate the vision that I've given other people who are struggling with believing that I've given it to them. Right? So that's what I've been called to do. God has given me the ability to see clearly. He's been able to give me the ability to see clearly for other people in their businesses. I'm talking about gain clarity in your messaging, increase your visibility, all of these things where I was able to sit down and really identify, why is it that I'm a vision coach, and why is it that I'm supposed to support other Christian female startup coaches. He said, because there are Christian female startup coaches who are struggling with the same things you struggled with 6 years ago. They're questioning whether or not I called them to coach. They're trying to figure out, how do I make this clear to my ideal client? Who is my ideal client? Can I monetize my coaching programs? Yes, all of those things, right? And so I want you to sit down and I want you to identify not just the ideal client, the problem you solve, but why are you called to solve their problem? What makes, I'm not talking about, okay, we know that training is a plus, schooling is a plus, but personal experiences allows you to empathize and relate to your ideal client on levels that you've never imagined. So why is it that you want to solve the problems that you solve for your client in your coaching business? Dominique said the problem I solve for my ideal client is a lack of passion, identification, and confidence, and lack of etiquette for every arena. I want women to know that they have a righteous seed on the inside of them, and God created us to succeed. Absolutely. Crystal said, I know these struggles. Listen, Crystal, you know it, right? And so I want you ladies, as we're working through your ideal client for the month of July, I want you to make sure that you're implementing and that you're sitting down and you're creating strategy on what we've talked about. What problem are you solving for your ideal client, right? What does that look like? Why is it that you're called to serve your ideal client? Why? Right? We're going to talk about results that you bring for your ideal client. What does that look like? Do you even know? And not just, I don't want you to just think of, I'm going to help my client live a better life. But we can eat cupcakes and donuts and feel like that's a better life too. Like, what do you mean? How are you going to help them? What are the results that you're going to bring your ideal client? The results that I bring my ideal client is, one is message clarity. I help you get crystal clear on your messaging. I'm talking about implementing those four major elements that I just talked about, implementing those four major elements into your message to make sure that you are attracting and converting your ideal client. Then I help you with your ideal client, getting crystal clear on the ideal client. Not just, of course, we do cover the demographics, we cover the geographics, but we need to focus on the psychographics and the behaviors and the beliefs of your ideal client so that we can use messaging that converts them and that we close them. Right? You need to create that magnetic messaging. And then lastly, I help my coaches monetize their coaching programs. How many of us have been in ministry, right? I've been in ministry my whole life. So when it came to me creating strategy for my coaching business and exchanging profit for transformation, I struggled a little bit because I'm like, I don't want people to feel like I'm selling prayer, right? Or I'm selling, like, no. Ministry is in my heart. That's who I am. It pours through my blood. Like, there's no separating LaToya and Christ any longer. Right? No, that's not how that go. So I'm not selling ministry, I'm selling strategy. Right? And so that's how I want you to look at what you do for other people. So what do I help you do? I help you build your coaching programs. I help you create the strategies. I help you work through it. Let's rock out so that you can monetize your programs. And now you can do what? Live and live life more abundantly. Tell me that's not good. Tell me that God didn't give you the ability that you have, the strategies that you have. God sent his son that we may live and live life more abundantly. He's also given us gifts. He's also given us wisdom. He's also given us all of these assets to the gift that he's given us so that we can do what? Gain wealth. He said, I've given you the power to gain wealth. Do you know your power? Do you? Right? One of the ways we identify this is what? Getting clarity on our ideal client. What does that look like to you? What does that look like to you? So listen, I'm all done for today. I just wanted to jump on, share some of this with you because it just got me thinking, how important it is for you to know your ideal client. July 27th, which is a Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm taking a group of 12 coaches through a ideal client clarity chart where I'm going to help you identify some of the major key points of your ideal client. And then I'm going to show you how to use these key points to generate $1,000 in your coaching business. Like, how many of us can use this additional 1,000 in our coaching business? I'm telling you that $1,000 in your coaching business lies on two things in your business. It's your messaging and it is your ideal client. It's your messaging and your ideal client. I want to help you generate that 1,000 into your coaching business. Meet me on Monday, July 27th. It's a very minimal investment. Let's rock out. I am going to go through every person with a fine tooth comb and we're going to go through the ideal client. Understand that this is not a master class. I'm not going to be teaching at you. I am going to be in a group coaching sessions where we're going to work through your ideal client individually so that you can get the clarity that you need so that you can generate that thousand in your business. It's not as hard as you think. There's just some key elements that I want you to sit down and I want you to identify. Again, the problem that you solve for your client. Why is it that you want to support this ideal client? What results are you going to bring this ideal client? Now, again, we need to focus on the key elements of that ideal client, but what do we have to do? We have to remove some layers of our own so that we can see our ideal client just a little bit more clear. So listen, Dominique, I'm going to send the link. Dominique is a part of my niche certification program. So Dominique, I'm going to get you, you have a special link to register for that. So don't worry about that. I'll drop it into my niche certification group for the ladies who want to join. Anyone who's in my niche certification program, they automatically get access to this Coach the Coach. So don't even worry about that, Dominique. I got you. Anybody else, if you're interested, I'm going to drop the link to the Coach that is happening Monday, July 27th at 7 p.m. If you want to physically walk through some of the very important key elements to identify your ideal client and making your ideal client crystal clear, then meet me. I'm telling you, it's not going to be a training. I'm not doing a masterclass. It's not going to be PowerPoints. We're going to sit down as a group and we're going to rock out and we're going to work through it. Cool. Have a fantastic week. I'm getting ready to jump into some work that I need to do. I hope that you ladies have a great week. Don't forget, I made a post in the group. I want to know on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being crystal clear, how clear are you on your ideal client? Is this an area? And I'm not talking about your avatar. The avatar is the demographics. The ideal client is the psychographics. Know the differences between the two. I'm not talking about your avatar. I'm not talking about the person that you created when you first start identifying your target market. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about the ideal client. This is the psychographics. This takes the marketing to the next level. I want to know if that's the part that you need the support in. The ideal client, not the avatar. We're not getting ready to be building, drawing stick figures, because that is an exercise that I've done and that I teach. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the next level in your coaching business, the ideal client, the psychographics, the one who's going to purchase your program so that you can generate that 1,000 in your coaching business. Have a fantastic day. I'll put the link in the comments. Be blessed. Love y'all.